This evening we're continuing along in the series as we're going through the Ten Commandments, and tonight we are in the eighth commandment. It would be Exodus chapter 20, verse 15, another of the four-word verses. And it's real simple. You would think that this is common sense. You would think that we would all understand this and not even need to be told this, and yet all too often, I know as a kid, living in Nashua and having access to a bike and the ability to go up to the top of the street, the freedom to be able to go to the top of the street, to the convenience store that was called the Outpost. And it looked like log cabin kind of thing, like the OK Corral kind of deal. And so we would go up to the Outpost. And I can remember I was, maybe 9 or 10 years old. It's crazy because I think I've got a 10-year-old and I won't let him hop on a bike and take off anywhere. And yet off I went up to the Outpost with my friends. And I can remember pocketing some of those little, the Swedish fish, back when they had them just loose and everyone would touch them with their grimy hands and you just pop them in your mouth. And I can remember taking some and putting them in my pocket and stealing them, taking them from the store and getting home. And my mom, obviously knowing that she would never buy me Swedish fish because, it's not an apple or fruit of some sort. It's the sixth food group. My mom recognizing where'd you get those? You don't have any money. You don't have access to money. How do you have? And I took them. So even at that age, and you guys probably all have a story of your own, whether it be you or your stinking dirty kids that did something similar. You would think that we wouldn't have to be told, you shall not steal. And yet, it's inherent within us. We're greedy little buggers. And we want often what we can't have, or want what we don't have the availability to get on our own. And so God, as he was speaking to Moses and giving these commandments so that we could live, one, in a healthy relationship with him, but two, in a healthy relationship with others. You shall not steal. It's interesting that the word steal, if you go back in time and hear it the way it would have been spoken to Moses and would have been etched by the finger of God in the stone tablet, the word steal would be ganav. And ganav addresses not just don't take what isn't yours, don't steal. We hear steal and we think I can't go into Best Buy and walk out with a 75-inch, TV in my back pocket. Like, what? We can't help ourselves to things that aren't ours. And yet the word ganav does address the aspect of stealing. Also talks about brought by stealth. And when we think about brought by stealth, we think of a few different ways. Stealth. Stealth would be sneaky. Stealth could be again, deceit. Stealth could be that we make something out to be more than it is. And so, I don't know, maybe we sell a used car that we know is a lemon. But, no, man, it's got brand new tires on it. Just had the paint touched up last year. It's a good vehicle. It'll go well for a long, long time. And you're just praying it starts when they go to test drive it. And we mislead people into thinking that they're getting a good deal. They're getting the steal, when in reality we're trying to deceive them so that we can make gain dishonestly. The Lord addresses these things. And the eighth commandment, yes, it does forbid outright theft and robbery. It does. But it also includes cheating and swindling and using inaccurate measurements. And I want to stop there for a minute because we would think nowadays inaccurate measurements, like, well, yeah, I'm selling my house. It's 44 by 100 or 44 by 80. It's palatial, and yet it's 24 by 30. Maybe inaccurate measurements by that. But when you think contextually back to inaccurate measurements and what that would have been addressing, obviously everything would have been done through a system of weights. They lived in an agrarian society, so everyone was bringing their wheat or bringing their oats or bringing their crops in, their harvest in, and they were bringing it in so that they could trade it, so they could sell it, so that they could, whatever they grew and produced, they could bring, and it would be weighed, and they were given a certain amount of money for the weight of it. And there were oftentimes the ones who would be purchasing, giving the money to the people who grew the crops and harvested them and brought them to the market, the ones who would be buying it from them. It was often known that they were deceitful and they had lying scales, they had dishonest scales. Their scales, their measurements were done in such a way that the weight was less than what it actually was. So they were getting a much more product than what they were actually paying for. We don't think of that so much now. When was the last time you brought something in to sell? Or maybe, I don't know. Oftentimes people sell things on Facebook Marketplace now or on eBay or Craigslist or whatever else. How often is it sold by weight? I've got this great car, 2 tons, and you're paying per pound, right? We don't do things by weight necessarily anymore, but those inaccurate measurements speak to really the heart of the issue, and that is to deceive. That is dishonest gain. That is that I want to get more for this than what I should actually get, what I deserve to get, what would be appropriate to get. Goes on talking about fraudulent merchandising. Fraudulent merchandising's fun. Now, we aren't going to watch football today because it's a bye week for the Patriots, and so there's no sense in watching football this week. But if we were to watch football this week, for instance, you're a Giants fan or an Eagles fan, some really foolish people that just have no sense of that. If you were to watch a football game, or even the Broncos, the warning shots were fired. Now we're direct assault. If you were to watch a football game, or if you were to watch a TV show in general, chances are you're going to see an advertisement. It's going to be an advertisement for medication, or it's going to be an advertisement for a drink, that's probably what the advertisements are for, medication and alcohol, one or the other. And in the medication advertisements, in the promotion, in the commercial that you're going to see someone who has high blood pressure, but they don't look like they have high blood pressure. They're a paid actor, and they probably just finished a photo shoot for Abercrombie as well. So nice and thin and active, and but I battle high blood pressure or diabetes, but not like you would think of someone who maybe is struggling with diabetes, but maybe just that she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, and it doesn't look like there would be any other health issues, any other complications. God, why did you strike her with diabetes? Because she's perfect in every way. But if you take this medication, not only will you be perfect and look perfect, but your health issues will go away as well. Or maybe if you have this specific drink, not only will you be the one at the nightclub that everyone wants to be around, but you'll leave the nightclub that evening and hop into your Lamborghini. Because if you drink that, you've got to drive that. Even if you can't afford it, it'll just be out there waiting for you. And so oftentimes we're misled by advertisement. Oftentimes we're misled, fraudulent merchandising. I've got an iPhone 6. We're up to 11 now. And I'll tell you, I've watched the commercials. If I had an iPhone 11, every picture I took would be perfect. It'd be in focus. It would be bright and colorful. I would be the Ansel Adams of the phone camera taker, picture takers if I had an iPhone 11. That's what they promise you. Not only that, but I'd be happy because my battery wouldn't die because it'll last all day on one charge. Fraudulent merchandising addresses the subject of counterfeit money. Now, I don't know how many of you have just, finished at your printing press before coming here. Please don't drop that in the offering this evening. But counterfeit money. And maybe we should think of counterfeit money not in the way of, you just print it off. That's always my favorite joke. When you're at, the convenience store and you pay with a 20 and they really investigate that 20, they're like looking at it and I'm like, no, it's good, I just printed it. I love to joke like that. Probably shouldn't. Eventually someone's going to take me seriously. But counterfeit money, or maybe again, just how we would value something higher than it's actually worth, hoping that we can trick someone into giving us more than what we really deserve. And then excessive interest, and excessive interest is always a great one. And it's interesting. If you read back in Exodus, there's conversation, there's instruction about how if you were to loan your brother something, you should not loan them with interest. And there's a bat. That's cool. Don't worry, it's going to fly around the fans. And it's not a vampire bat, so you're going to be okay. So he's just trying to get out from the cold. So this is going to be fun now. Lost you all for the rest of the evening. Let's all take a moment. Where is it anyway? Oh, okay. He's taking a nap. We can ignore him now. So, excessive interest. Understanding that anyone ever apply for a student loan? Yeah. And as you're looking at the student loans, so we ran into this. Megan is a junior at Oral Roberts University, and the scholarship that she's got is great, and it's very helpful, but there is some additional financial need that she has had. And she got some loans through the school, but then there's additional loan that would be needed. And we were looking online one day for student loans. Just, okay, how can we make the difference? How can we meet that? And the first thing that as you're given a disclaimer, not we're going to loan you at this amount of interest, but there's a range that you could fall into for this loan. We're not going to tell you what it is until we give you the loan and give you the money, and then you're held accountable to that interest rate. We'll set that interest rate later, but the interest rate may be 12% to 26%. And we sat with Megan one day just to let her know, if you were to borrow $10,000 with this loan, there's the potential that over the course of a 30-year paying back that loan, or 20 years paying back that, I think it was 20 years paying back that loan, that $10,000, you would pay them back $24,000. You would pay in interest more than what you even borrowed from them. And that's really the crazy thing about that. And yet, somehow they haven't come to an understanding of what it means that we should not steal. I pray that every banker and every creditor gets saved in the next couple months, because her senior year is coming up. So it talks about and addresses all those different things. And so we would look at it, for us personally, we could look at it from the perspective of, okay, yeah, I shouldn't steal. But while I shouldn't maybe kick my neighbor's door down and, I don't know, take their car or take their lawnmower or take their new grill so that I can have it at my house, I shouldn't do those things. I shouldn't steal, just blatant theft. But I also shouldn't charge interest if I'm going to let someone borrow some money. I also shouldn't try and tackle the sale of something and try and trick someone into getting more than what it's really worth. Like, we should have integrity and honor in the things that we're trying to do commerce with. That's for us personally, for anyone who's a business owner. Take that principle in your business world, in the practices, that you would be known for character and integrity in your business dealings. It also speaks towards stewardship. The idea of stealing and the idea that understanding we are all stewards of something. We're stewards of what the Lord has given to us. We're stewards of the gifts that he's given to us. And so think of it not from a financial perspective for a moment, but think of it from a gifting perspective. What are the natural God-given gifts that you have? What are the things that you can do better than other people? What are the gifts that he's given you? Are you squandering those? Or are you using them appropriately? Are you using them for his glory? Are you using them in such a way that they would actually be for the benefit and for the building up of others, for the care and the encouragement of others? So look at it from the gifts that you've got. Are you sitting on your talents? Or are you using them in such a way that would encourage others around you, as well as glorify and honor the Lord? Because he's the one that gave you those gifts. You might think you're really special, and you just have this natural talent that you got, or you developed it on your own through hard work and perseverance. And yes, there is a measure of that. But God gave you the ability to be able to concentrate or focus or have the exact detail ability for those things. It does also look to financially what we do with what we have, how we use it, how we steward it. Do we squander it? Do we make wise choices with the financial? Because not only do we rob ourselves of abilities to do things with it that would be healthy, but we rob others of the opportunities that it could bring to them. Because we understand often what we've been given is not for us, or it's for us, but it's also for others. It also addresses dishonest gain. And I would just ask this question: how accurate are you with your tax filings? Do we get creative with our deductions? Or do we love the opportunity to get paid under the table because that's something I don't have to claim? There's real issues. And how honest we are with what we get or what we have to pay out. Jesus said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And I would say, of course, he also said, now go open that fish's mouth and take the coin out so you can pay the tax. But I think we need to stop being so creative and stop being so skillful in maybe how we do our accounting in such a way that we don't have to pay as much for taxes, even though we really should. And that we would honor God even through that. We would honor God in how we are truthful. I know everyone thinks that the government is out to slam you and abuse you and take everything from you. And some of that might be true. But we're still called to honor the authority that's placed over us. There's a hard issue that the Lord wants to dive into with this conversation. If we should not steal, what's the root in that? In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 28, because if you're not going to steal anymore, there should be some instruction as to what you do. So let the thief no longer steal, but rather let him labor, doing honest work with his own hands, so that he may have something to share with anyone in need. Do you understand what you have is not just for your own blessing? What you have is for the blessing of others as well. Generosity, and this, I think, is really the root. Generosity is the key to overcoming a thieving spirit. For any of us who would say, no, it's my precious. It's mine. I earned this. Oftentimes, the root of the issue is that we don't know how to be generous. We don't know how to be open-handed with what the Lord has given to us, what he's provided us with. And so instead, not only do we look to hold so tightly to what we have, maybe what we have earned, but we also look for ways to earn more or get more, accumulate more. If there's conviction about choices that have been made, or I pray that through those convictions, there would be action. There would be action to set things right. Whether it would be the need for confession of something, or whether it would be the need for paying back someone who you gained too much from. Sometimes we can be at the grocery store and they can hand us back change and they give us a 10 instead of a 1. And what? Do we think to ourselves, man, look at that, God's trying to bless me? Or do we call it what it is? Like, hang on a second, wait a minute, you made a mistake. Understanding that that cashier at the end of the night would then be called to question about where that money went. The ripple effects of things. There's so many different opportunities where we could look at how do not steal, you shall not steal, play in our lives. And so I pray for each of you tonight. Father, I pray for each of us, God, that we would make the right choices, God-honoring decisions with how we respond to things that we may feel just came our way. But also, Lord, in the areas where we have compromised in our integrity, Lord, I pray that you would give us the courage to act to make those right. Pay back what might be owed. If we've cheated someone out of something, God, that we would go back and be honest about that and make restitution for that. Lord, that there would be nothing that would hinder us in our relationship with you. There would be nothing that would hinder us in our relationship with others. Give us the courage and the strength to walk through that, knowing that you do walk through that with us. And there may be consequences. But Lord, there is also blessing. And so I pray that each of us would walk in that and experience your blessing. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.